Moskos, founder and the managing director of Q Training from Greece. Antonios is a prolific speaker and an experienced trainer himself. He has worked for several large multinational organizations, including Microsoft and Mercedes-Benz. Antonios is Microsoft certified trainer, and he specializes in training ROI, customer relationship management, business negotiations and influence, presentation skills, and IT training. Okay, good evening, Antonios, and over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for sharing your time with me tonight. I welcome you all. Q Training is a business training institution which is based in Athens, Greece. And in fact, as most of the training institutions, we are struggling to deliver results-based training programs. In this effort, we are trying to design and implement training programs which secure high return on investment. So you are all aware about training ROI, return on investment, and let me tell you about the key characteristics of those training programs. Obviously, a trainer or a presenter in a training session has to secure interactivity, audience participation, and feedback from the audience. And this is very important because we are talking about interactive training programs. We want the audience to participate. Another key characteristic has to do with the learning activities. Kirkpatrick or Jack Phillips have many times mentioned learning level 2 in a training program, which means that during all the training session you need a mechanism to get the feedback, the learning level from the audience. Third, you have to deal with debriefs and questions from the audience. Maybe one of the most important techniques for trainings, debriefs. Questions also very important. Most of the time we write them on a flip chart. Finally, let me tell you a phrase that in the world of training is very common. What I've learned through fun, I will never forget. So icebreaker and fun and humor is always a part of the synchronous training program. Let's move on the next slide. We are talking here about interactivity and feedback. And honestly, most of the times, unless you use a tool such as YawnBuster, it's not very easy to ensure collaboration and interactivity from the audience. Lana, a few seconds ago, presented us the activity of a quiz, which is very important. You can see here there's a question, does procurement management mean? And there are questions. You can get some feedback from the participants. So they are giving us some information through the learning. This is a poll, and you write the answers in YawnBuster activity, so you don't need to count or you don't need any type of writing on a flip chart. Let me tell you about brainstorming, which is one of the most important activities from YawnBuster. I'm a trainer, and I know many of our trainers in our company who consider brainstorming activity as one of the most interesting, because brainstorming, you only have one tool to write it down, and this is a flip chart. But what happens when you have to prioritize the answers to brainstorming? So this is a very important activity because you first get the feedback from the brainstorming session, you write down the opinions, and then you prioritize. This is impossible to take place on a flip chart. Then you can see at the right corner, at the bottom of this page, one of the activities that is called T-chart. And this is very important also because sometimes you have two areas and you want to collect some opinions. And you know, it is the audience who gives the answers to these questions. It is also very difficult to simulate such an answer to another tool unless you have many sheets of flip chart stick on the wall. and also mind map. Lana told us before about that. You can design a process, a procedure that also it's impossible to design unless you have a tool like a Flipchart or Visio or another software. But this can be done in PowerPoint. Let's move in our next slide. And let me talk to you about learning activities. And this is very important because in training there are many cases that the trainer has to talk for, let's say, half an hour or 1 hour, and he never gets a feedback. What has happened with the audience? What has happened with their attention curve? So you can see here that we have many activities. Through those activities we can enforce learning. You can see quiz, you can see the sequence activity. Lana gave us a presentation a few minutes ago, and you can also see the activity point of view. You get some information, you get some answers, yes, but depending on some point of view. So this is an extra activity. There are many of such activities. You can use them very easily, and the most important is that it is a user-friendly environment. It is an add-in in PowerPoint. So for our trainers, it just took us about half an hour to demonstrate this software and to ask them to start using it. Let me move in our next slide, which has to do with handling debriefs and Q&As. This is also one of the most important sections for a trainer. Key takeaway. So every 1 hour, every 2 hours, at the end of every session, you have to write down the key takeaways. And maybe, as far as myself is concerned, I have found that the most important tool for this task. And this is called the activity key takeaway. Because every 10 slides, every 5 slides, you just write down the key takeaways from the audience, and at the end of the day or at the end of the session, you can present all the key takeaways together, as you can see at the right top corner. Now, how we handle Q&As, parking slot. Maybe a very common tactic for all the trainers. We just collect the questions through the session, and at the end of every session, or at the end of the training, or at the end of the first day or the second day, you just present all the questions. You see the cars here. You just click the card. All the questions or the relevant questions come out. You click, either you answered or not, and then the car is moving on. And finally, let's move to the next slide. Many activities offering fun, and they are very appropriate for ice breaking. You can see only 4 of them here, but there are so many that you can make the difference. Spin the wheel. So you just replace a quiz, a classic quiz, with such an activity. You hit the button, so you can see that any question might come out, and there is plenty of fun. You can also see treasure hunt, which is also based on a quiz, but finally you need some luck in order to get the points. Of course, it combines fun and knowledge. And you can also see another activity, reach the top, at your bottom left corner, when you still click a category like literature, art, and then you answer the questions. As you answer the questions, you move at the top levels. So let's move to our final conclusion. Please make sure that everybody who is expecting a presentation or a training for a PowerPoint, he just expects a presentation, a classic presentation. By using this activity, you simply offer differentiation. In my words, I would say that you deliver the unexpected. So keep in mind that instead of presenting the classic way using PowerPoint, you use an add-in such as YawnBuster, and you deliver the unexpected. Thank you for your time.
Antonios, thank you so much for such an interesting and inspiring speech.